Our verse today is Hebrews chapter 2, verse 17. Therefore he had to be made like his brothers in every respect, so that he might become a merciful and faithful high priest in the service of God to make propitiation for the sins of the people. We can ask many questions about why Jesus went through certain Jewish rites and also human experiences. For instance, he was presented in the temple, he was baptized, then he was tempted, suffered, and died. The letter to the Hebrews gives us an insight to some of these questions. Let us see what our verse says today. But to understand the verse today, let us begin from verse 14 of this chapter to put our verse in context. The author says in verse 14, "Since therefore the children share in flesh and blood, he himself likewise partook of the same things." Here he underscores that Jesus came from among the people of Israel and had to partake of their practices, culminating in his death to destroy the power of death, the power of evil, the devil. His death was to deliver those afraid of death who were held in lifelong slavery. He then goes on to say, Jesus did not help the angels, but the offspring of Abraham in verse 16. Our verse then follows, therefore he had to be made like his brothers in every respect. Here we know that the plural for brothers in Greek can mean brothers and sisters. So we can say Jesus was made like his brothers and sisters who were offspring of Abraham. He was completely a human being and descended from the race of Abraham. He did not descend on earth as an angel. We too are the spiritual seeds of Abraham. Because Jesus became like his brothers and sisters in every respect, he understands our human nature, our human experiences. He goes through the rites of presentation in the temple and baptism, although he had no sin, that he might become a merciful and faithful high priest. The high priest interceded and offered sacrifices for God's people, such as the Day of Atonement, and performed other rituals to take away sins. You can read Leviticus chapter 23, 26 to 32, and Hebrews chapter 9, verse 7. Our verse says, to make propitiation for the sins of the people. The Greek word translated as propitiation here is hilasketai, from the verb hilaskomai, which means to show kindness or compassion towards one who does not deserve it. To have mercy, pardon, forgive, or to bring about reconciliation, make acceptable to, provide for forgiveness with focus on the means of reconciliation. Jesus entered our human condition to show us mercy and compassion for our weaknesses and reconcile us with God. In participating in our human ways of doing things, Jesus comes to the same level as us. Hence the letter to the Philippians says he humbled himself and took on human form. Philippians chapter 2, 1 to 11. Being at our level, he can empathize with us in our human weaknesses. Jesus Christ, as the ideal high priest, perfectly understands our human weaknesses and does not judge us according to human standards and according to the way human beings treat us, condemn us, and take our weaknesses. Instead, Jesus is more understanding. As the last verse in this chapter says, for because he himself has suffered when tempted, he is able to help those who are being tempted. Hebrews 2 verse 18. Can we also understand other people who are weak and empathize with them by placing ourselves in their own condition and situation? We will not easily judge and condemn others for their failings if we put ourselves in their own shoes. Lord, help us empathize with the weak people among us, just as you empathize with us in our weaknesses and forgive. Amen. God bless you. Have a lovely day.